Okay, guys, I'm online, but we've still got 3 minutes until class starts. I'm just going to go off and run my audio setup wizard. Make sure that you're going to need a calculator, so you might want to just make sure you've got one or got your phone there or something, okay? Thanks. Okay, we're just going to wait a minute. My clock says it's only 3. Oh, it says 4 o'clock now, so let's start. All right, so we've been working on our geometry unit, and we have been working on, of course, area. And so we've been learning about area, and one of the things we have to remember is what area describes. Can anybody tell me what area describes, either by typing it in or using their microphone? Or reading the page. So area is the space, according to William, which is right. It's the space taken up by a two-dimensional figure. So three-dimensional figures take up volume, but the space taken up by a two-dimensional figure is called area. And it has length and width. And one of the things that I noticed today quite a bit in our class was that a lot of you are not putting your units squared in. And that's super important when we're dealing with area. You'll get used to it because I'm going to nag about it, but you have to have that done by the test, if that's in your head. So in any parallelogram, we measure it by it being area by multiplying the base times the height. In a triangle, we measure the base times the height and we divide it by 2. So those are two formulas that you actually are learning about, and you'll have to know those formulas by the time we have the quiz. So we're going to learn the area of a circle, but it's going to take us 2 classes because there's so many new things to develop first. Circles are a bit trickier to figure out the area because they don't have square edges for us to measure. So the space inside is not as easy as taking 2 linear measures and multiplying them by each other. So the few special measurements you need to know, the first is diameter. Now the diameter and the radius are in terms that you're going to hear a fair bit of. So I'm going to get my pointer here. I think I'll use my hand today. All right. The diameter is the distance through the middle of a circle from edge to edge. So if I started right here where this dot is, and I went across the circle to where this dot is, and notice that it went right through the center. That's super important. So if I measured that distance, that would give me the diameter, or the distance across the circle from edge to edge. I would actually like you to write this definition down because we're going to need to remember these and we're not going to. So I'll give you a second right now to write down what a diameter is. So just on your piece of paper for homework, and make sure you've got this in class, you're going to write down that diameter is the distance through the middle of a circle from edge to edge. When you've got that done, can you put your hand up so I know you're done? Couple more people. Just waiting for Annika and William. William's got his hand up. Annika just will be alone. Okay, Annika, are you there? Just put your hand up if you're there. Oh yeah, she's there. Good. Excellent. All right. So she's got her hand up. Good. You can all put your hands down now. That's excellent. We've got that written down. Now, the second tricky thing that we have to measure, we have to get the measurements of in order to get the area of a circle is the circumference. Now, the circumference is the distance around the outside edge of a circle. So if you follow my pointer hand, it's if you went walking around this circle, It would be the distance from the top all the way around on the outside edge and back up again. So I want you to write down that definition as well. I know that this is a little bit trickier than normal math classes. Usually we just chat about stuff and I don't have you write much. But today I do want you to write down the circumference is the distance around the outside edge of a circle. So by the time we're finished, you're going to be able to figure out how to calculate diameter and circumference, but nothing about area today. This is a two-class figuring out. All right, so circumference and diameter are what are important today. Does anybody have any questions about what the circumference is? Oh, good. Can you put your hand up when you've got that definition written down, please? Excellent, almost done. So, just so that you know, I know Annika's still writing, but I'll just talk while she writes. This is also a special term, this one here, is to take the distance from the center of a circle to anywhere on the outside edge on a straight line. That's called a radius. And a radius is half of the diameter. So the diameter goes all the way across, the radius goes halfway across from the center to the outside. But today we're worrying more about those two that you've written down. You done, Annika? Esther, you can put your hands down. Good. Okay. Now, so before we get to know area of a circle next day, we also need to know about pi. Now I know it looks like I spelled pi wrong, but I didn't. Pi is a special actual ratio that was figured out by some smart mathematicians a long time ago. And they know it always works. So, what is it? It is the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the diameter. All right? That's right. So, the ratio of the circumference of a circle to the diameter. And William very quickly has written down a ton of numbers there. You can see they've actually taken this to so many digits and it never repeats. So they had a computer work on it and they took it to like 1.5 million places and it never repeats. So this is just one of those things. But yes, you can see that it's actually 3.141592653588979 and it goes on and on and on. So pi though, we always shorten it to 3.14 because you can see that 3.141 is the first 3 digits. And so we would not round that up to 3.15. So we use 3.14 as the measure that we use most of the time. Now if you get into engineering and stuff, they take that to a lot more places, but that will be when you're a lot smarter than now. All right? So we can figure out the circumference by multiplying the diameter times pi. So this is what they noticed, is if you went all the way around the edge of the circle, that it measured the same as if you walked across the circle 3¼ times. So they noticed that when they started doing a bunch of measurements. They measured the outside edge of a circle, the circumference of a circle, and they measured the diameter and they noticed that it always was 3.1415926, whatever. So they said, oh, this is kind of a little formula that we can use now so that we can figure out circumference and we can figure out diameter, actually, because we can use both of those to help us out. So now we get into the math part of it. Let's take a look. Okay, if you have the circumference of a circle, you can, I'm going to draw a circle. I'm going to see how that works for me. Look at that. You have the circumference of a circle. Okay, so I'm going to get my pen. And this is where the people today were trying this and realized that it's not just me that's lousy with the pen. This pen's hard to use. Okay, so back to the page. The circumference of the circle you can get, if you have the circumference, you can divide it by pi to get the diameter. So circumference divided by 3.14 to get the diameter. So if you measured all the way around this circle, and then you divided that by 3.14, you're going to get the distance across the middle. So I'm going to change this to red now. Your answer is going to be this, right here. Yeah. Red line. I'm going to draw it in. So, apparently I'm not going to, oh, there we go. Okay. So, then you are going to get the diameter. All right? And I want you to really think about that, because people try and just put these formulas in their head without understanding them. And then they forget if it's radius or diameter or whatever. So I want you to imagine walking all the way around the outside edge of that circle and then trying to figure out what it would be to get the diameter, the distance across. You would have to divide it by 3.14 or pi. All right? So I don't want to go into homework yet. So now, if the circumference is 10 centimeters, what is my diameter? So how am I going to figure that out? What's my formula? And I want you to write it down. I don't want to see just the answer on your page, okay? Circumference is 10, and I'm going to divide it by 3.14. And I'm going to get an answer. Oops, someone put their hand up. Very exciting. Well, did somebody put in an answer yet? So when you're done, no, that's not homework. It's just figuring out. It's only 4:09. You don't get done this early. Okay, did anybody figure out the 10 divided by 3.14? Figure it out. Put your hand up if you've got it, or type it in. Okay, she said yes, and then she said no. So I'm going to take 10 on my calculator, and I'm going to divide it by 3.14. And on my calculator, I get 3.184713375. So like Zainab, yeah, that's the answer, guys. So it's 3.18. I'm going to write that down. Now let's see if this works in reverse. If I knew only, that's terrible, the diameter and pi, how could I get the circumference? We've been doing lots of this lately. Close, Stephen. What we would actually do is to go in reverse to get this 10, and you'll get 9.9852 on your calculator. To get this 10, you take these two and you multiply them. Right? So division backwards is multiplication. So remember on our charts before, if we had our chart looking like this, I'm going to just draw a little T-chart if I can. This thing doesn't drive me crazy. Okay. So draw my little T-chart. If I've got my circumference is 10, my diameter is 3.18. The thing that holds those things together is pi. Pi. I like cherry pie. All right? So what we can do is we multiply 3.18 by 3.14 to get 10. And we divide 10 by 3.14 to get 3.18. I wish I could print better on here. So those both will get you forwards and backwards there. Does everybody understand why? Hands up if you get it. Thumbs up if you get it. This is a tougher thing because you've got to remember a bunch of formulas. So I hope you're writing things down. Good. Looks like lots of people getting it. Excellent. 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 Good. All of us got it. Great. And so Now I want you to do 2 questions for homework today. And the reason I want you to do 2 is because I want you to do 1 circumference and 1 diameter. So I'm actually going to give you less time in class. We should be done by about 4:15. So the first one, if you've got this written down, right, that you wrote down the formula for getting the circumference from the diameter and the diameter from the circumference, it should be fine. So somewhere in your notes today, you should have the circumference, the diameter, both written down. I'm just going to tell you. The circumference and diameter both written down, and you should actually have how to figure out, okay, and I'm going to put in a text box, and hopefully that's going to work. Okay, I'm going to make it huge. Okay, circumference equals equals 3.14 and times, somebody tell me, 3.14 times the diameter. All right. Circumference equals 3.14 times the diameter. So make sure that you know that formula. Because then we know if we have diameter, and we can figure out circumference. If we have circumference, we can figure out diameter by doing the division or the multiplication. All right. So find the circumference of a circle that has a diameter of 4.5 centimeters, and find the diameter of a circle that has a circumference of 30 centimeters. Those are your 2 questions you have for homework today. Anybody have any questions? Oh, bye guys. Didn't realize people were already signing off. Bye. You okay with this stuff, Annika? Great. All right, let me know as soon as you're done, and I will sign us off for today. Hello? Hey? Why? Is it broken?